Welcome back, guys. Okay, here we are in Google Analytics for my test site, and this is where we're going to set up our Google Analytics experiments, which are really cool. It's a really cool way to split test individual pages, posts, categories, whatever. Okay, so first thing you want to do, well, one of the important things to know first before you do any of this is that Google Analytics allows you to run 12 different experiments at once. Okay, so you're going to set it up on individual pages. So probably the best thing to do is to pick just a few of your top pages, the ones that get the most traffic. That way you're going to get an accurate test over the shortest time. Or you could even do it over a few long tail posts if you're going to take a longer time. But you can try doing it across a whole heap of posts if you want, but it'll probably drive you batty. You probably just, I mean, on the test I've just been setting up, I did my top 10 posts. And with a bit of patience, after a couple of weeks, you get some really quite good results. Okay, so a few things to know to set up before we get going. Just get out of this and this and this. Right. Okay. We're going to have to go into our admin page and make sure you've got your AdSense account linked for this particular site, because what you want is you want your AdSense account to give the data to Google Analytics so you can run these split tests. So if I just go into AdSense linking, and you can just go through the instructions for how to link your account. But another important thing to note is that in order to link your site to Analytics for AdSense, you'll need a code snippet. Now, apparently you don't need the code snippet for your primary property on your analytics. Like I've got heatmaptheme.com as my primary property, and I don't need a code snippet for that. But for Creativity Pro, the test site, I do. So if I just click on that, and you'll see there's a code snippet there, and that needs to go into your site. And if we just head over to heat map options, have a look in there, and I've stuck that in the head scripts box. Google Analytics says stick it after the opening body, but it doesn't really matter. Stick it in the head scripts box, it still works just fine. Okay, so I've just got that code to link that site for my AdSense there. So important to do that or nothing will work. Another thing to know is you only get 12 experiments. So what you want to do to keep things tidy, don't just stick the experiments into your main account, which is the mistake I made when I first did it. Create a new view. Now what's a view? A view allows you to set up a new way to look at a particular site. So I've got Creativity Pro's main view, but then I've got this page tracking view, which is what I used for my experiments. Once you create a new view, you'll see what I mean, but you will want to create a new view for each set of experiments that you do. So say for each 12 of experiments, you probably want to create a new view, okay, just to keep things tidy. The reason being is that you can't, once you create an experiment, you can't actually delete it at the moment with Google Analytics. Google's not really great at letting you delete stuff. Okay, so if you stick it in your main view, you'll be stuck with those defunct experiments forever. Whereas if you stick them into a new view, you can always, if you get sick of the data that's in that experiment, then you can just delete that view. Okay, so believe me, you want to create a new view for your experiments. Right. So if we just head back to my account here, and you can just have a quick look at the results you actually start to get from these experiments before we set one up. So I'm just going to click on experiments here, and here are my experiments. I've set up a number of pages. Actually, I'm just going to, that's the ones that I was talking about earlier that I set up on my main view, which are now I don't want anymore. I'm going to go to a different view I set up for the site. Here it is. So here's all the experiments I've currently got running. And you can see they've got the visits here, and it's saying the experiment's running, and this is when it started. And let's look at the most trafficked page right here, how to hold an art exhibition. And you can see it's been getting AdSense clicks, and you can see it's telling me what the original variation is doing. So it's had 75 visits, only one click, so it's like a 1% click through there. Okay, but variation 4, so remember I was telling you about the split test groups earlier. I had var A, var B, var C, var D. So variation 4 corresponds to my variation var D split test group code that I made. Okay, so for variation 4, that's had 7 clicks with a 0.04 average AdSense clicks. That's 4%. Okay, and you can see over here the experiment is running and telling us there's going to be a 76.6% probability that this layout will outperform the original layout. Now that's valuable information to have, isn't it? Okay, so it's saying the variation 3, that's 59%. Okay, so it's saying that even that one is going to be better than this one. Okay, so that's valuable information to have, isn't it? But these ones not doing anything at all. Okay, now unless you've got a really high traffic site, obviously if you're running on a test site with not much traffic, it's going to take a while for you to run these experiments, and I've been running this one for 12 days, okay, to get these results, because it's not a very high traffic site. Okay, so how do we actually go about setting these things up? Well, let's go down to experiments. Okay, and I'm going to create an experiment. So I'm going to create a new experiment, and I'm going to do it for this page here. I'm going to take that URL, and stick it in there and start experimenting. Okay, and we're going to call it after the page Art World Recession. Okay, select a metric and for AdSense, and AdSense has clicked. 100% of the traffic is going to be dedicated to this experiment. See, what you can do is you can just say, oh, I only want a little bit of my traffic to be part of the experiment, so you don't bug your visitors too much. But in this case, I'm not really that bothered, so I'm dedicating all of it. But you know, if you just wanted, if you wanted to take your time, or if you had a high traffic site and you didn't want to bug your visitors too much, you can reduce it. See? Okay. Now, next step. Okay. Now, this is where you enter the various pages that you want Google Analytics experiments to compare. Okay, so you add a different web page in each box. So we'll stick, this is the original. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another URL for variation A. So I'm going to actually call it variation A. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is, because I've already set up the ads with the split test group, I'm going to stick this query string on the end, cm split equals var A. Okay, and here it is. This is the variation A layout. So I'm going to take that URL, I'm going to put it in here. Okay, and it goes away, gets the new page. There you go. It gives you a nice picture so you can see exactly what it looks like. You can see it's slightly different from that one to that one. Okay, I'm going to add another one now. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I want to go back. Now, why has it done that? I think I pressed the wrong button there, didn't I? Oh dear. Here we go. Add a variation. That's what I wanted to do. Okay. Add a variation. So I'm going to go and get far B. Just get the URL for that. You can see it's a different layout again. So I'm just going to stick that in there. I'm going to call it variation B. Add a variation. Now I'm going to do it for variation C. It's amazing really, isn't it? I'm looking here at these ads. Google knows me well. I'm looking for a new mobile phone and it knows I want one. And it knows I've been looking at these guys for a mobile phone. So Google's smart these days. It knows all about me, which is good for us. Okay, because it means that the ads that are being served are going to be hopefully relevant to our visitors. So I'm going to stick that in there. Goes away and gets the next variation. And I'm going to do variation D, which will be the last variation. I'm going to get that URL and stick it in here. Now you don't have to do so many variations. I just wanted to really give this system a really good test. I mean, you could just do 2. You could just test 2 against each other. So I'm just going to change that to variation C. And that to variation D. Okay. And right, so I've got all my variations. Now I want to click on the next step. Right, so I've got all my variations. Now it says setting up your experiment code. So what you've got to do in order for this experiment to run, you've got to put a piece of code into your website. So I'm going to grab that piece of code now. And here it is. Copy that. And I'm going to edit this page. Yep. And you'll see there's a brand new box in your post editor. Down here somewhere. Google Experiments code for this post. Woohoo! Right, stick that in there. Right. Now what this code does is it gets inserted into the head of your page, right, before anything else has run. And it acts like a switcher. So it redirects your visitor to different variations of the page. So yeah, so basically all it is a redirector. So one of the slight downsides of Google Experiments is there's a slight delay because your page gets loaded a little bit. It gets loaded as far as this code, and then the browser goes, right, okay, this is going to send us off to a random variation of the page. And so there's a slight delay as it just switches you off. But most ways of split testing do have some kind of delay. And out of all the ways you could do it, this is probably one of the most flexible. Okay, I'm going to update that. Thinking. Thank you very much. So now we have our code in there, and I'm going to go and view that post. And hopefully the post will come up in just 1 second. Okay, I'm just going to refresh this, and hopefully it should. Now one of the things you'll notice about this though is that when you as you can see, this hasn't changed the format. Okay. One of the things that it will do is gives you a cookie. The Google Analytics code gives you a cookie so that as a visitor you don't get a different variation every time you come back to this page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up a different browser because I'm logged in as admin here, but I want to be on a browser which I'm not an admin. Okay, and I'm going to grab that and zip into here, and hopefully we should get it switching through. But on the other hand, now it's responding. Thank you very much. We'll just wait for that to load. Okay. What I'm going to have to do, because I actually have a cache on here, I'm going to have to clear the cache first. So let's go and clear the cache. Okay. We'll just clear the cache first because I've got a W3 total cache running here. And we're just going to clear that, and then hopefully we'll be able to see this actually happening. Okay, page from cache. Thank you very much. Just waiting for it to purge from the cache, and then we'll have another go, and then to see this variation happening. Right. Okay, let's refresh this page. But now, of course, it's given me the cookie. And it's not going to change. But we should see, if we look at the top of the page, you can see the Google Analytics experiment code here. Right, and this is what does the switching magic. Okay, but obviously now it's given me the cookie, so it doesn't want to switch for me. I'll give it another go, see if it'll let me refresh this. No, it's just going to give me the same one. Okay, let's give Safari a try. Oh. Just wait for Safari to load. Don't use this one much, so you can see it's just on the Apple Start page. Right. Okay, Safari. Show us what you got. And of course it doesn't want to work. You know why? I haven't started the experiment, you fool. Ah, dear. Right. Okay. Let's actually start the experiment and then we might actually get somewhere. Alright. Okay. That's funny, isn't it? Okay. Next step. Didn't finish it off, did I? We've got to go through a step of validation. So Google goes off now and checks your pages to see if they're loading. Make sure. Oh yeah. Right, okay. Web server rejects UTM XPID. Okay, let's try validating. He did it this time. Sometimes Google Analytics experiments, first time you validate it, throws up an error. I don't know why. It just does. Okay, so you got to validate the code. But it just sometimes throws up an error. Anyway, so now I'll click on Start Experiment, and we might get somewhere, mightn't we? Okay, here we go. Experiment is launched. Hooray! Okay, and that should appear in my list, and it'll be in here somewhere. Here we go. Maybe on the next page. There. Oh, it's in there somewhere. Let's have a see. Art World Recession. It's right there. Okay. So, and you can see there's no visits to that. But hopefully, if I now go to this, it should start switching us around. Ah, there we go. Look, magic. It's changed the split query string. It's also stuck some of its own extra stuff on the end for tracking, and it's changed the layout of the page. Isn't that magic? Thanks for sticking with me this far, by the way. I was going to edit all this the previous part that I've just gone through out of the video, but no, I'll just leave it in for you to listen to. You can see my my thinking that way. Okay, and we'll try this one as well. We'll just do that one in. Look, see, it's changing the layout. Safari is grabbing the page. It's just going off and switching us, and you can see it's changed the layout of the ads. Magic! How easy is that? Well, once you've done it a few times, it's pretty easy. So that's split testing with Google Experiments. Remember, you can only have 12 experiments running at one time, and make sure that you set up a new view to put your experiments into. That way you can delete them when you're finished with them. Okay, but it's very exciting because once you start getting the information, you can very easily start seeing. Which ads and layouts are getting the highest clicks and which are going to perform better. Okay, now different pages will give you different results, but in general you will find over time there is a trend one way or the other across all of your pages. I've actually found by looking at the data that this original layout actually does quite well, even as good as this one on other pages. So it gives us some clues as to where to start looking and where to start tuning. So which layouts are winners, and what you would do is then once you've got a winner over a couple of weeks, or a couple of winners, then you'll start do some more experiments and start getting more and more specific about the data that you're using. I'm even going as far as you may be tying with your AdSense account itself and start using channels on some of your ads, so you can split out the positions on the page, etc. But it's very exciting stuff. Anyway, have a play with that, and the next thing I'll talk to you about is getting this all working with caching. Actually, I've nearly forgot to tell you something, so I'm just going to take this bit onto the video here. Remember when I said you could place the analytics experiment code into a page or a post right here? Okay. Well, you can also do the same for, if we go to Click Missile settings, for the home page. So if you want to do a split test on your home page, then you can do that. And you can also do it for categories. So if we go to Posts, Categories, I have added a box. So if you want, you can add a split test group for your category pages too. So it'll do posts, it'll do pages, it'll do your home page, and it'll do category pages. So you got a good range of things you can actually test right there. Okay, well that's just one of the extra features, and now we'll zip on to talking about caching.